Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, where each week is an unscripted exploration into the many facets of love, oneness, and our connection to the human spirit. I'm Lisa LeRose, and I'm joined by the amazing Michael J. Russ. It's always such a delight to share this time with you, Michael, and with our beautiful Connect to Love community. So if you've had a chance to tune into our most recent episodes, you know we've been exploring what it means to be connected. Not just connected to each other, but connected to ourselves. Oftentimes, after we finish an episode, the things we speak about make me curious about so many other things. And the last few episodes have got me thinking about the idea of connection versus separation, because I believe there are a great number of people on this planet who are really feeling separate or lost and maybe even confused about their own worth. But what if we can shift that? What if it's as simple as recognizing that there's a part of you that's never been confused, never been lost, never once doubted your worth, and never forgot why you came here? What if you are connected to that part of yourself right now, in this very moment? So today we're going to dive into one of the biggest questions we as human beings can ask. Are we really separate from each other, or are we always connected to something greater, to a deeper part of our soul, that inner light that we speak about, that shines within each of us? And to help us explore this topic, we are delighted to welcome back a very special guest, Maureen Oehrle. If you happen to listen to our Bridging the Gap into the Unknown episode 130, then you may be familiar with the grounded insights of the beautiful soul that Maureen Oehrle is. And if you haven't listened to it, please make some time to do so, because it's simply wonderful. She has spent years exploring both personal transformation and inner intuitive development. She has explored communication with the higher levels of awareness. But what's so beautiful about her is her journey is really never-ending. It's beyond just intellectual, and it's been so deep and personal and profound. If you would ask Maureen what her ultimate passion is, she would say it lies in connecting people with new information and exploring potential in the invisible. She helps so many people step outside of their routine thinking and encourages everyone I know to stay curious. It's such a beautiful gift. So I would like to welcome Maureen and also Michael. It is such a delight and such a pleasure, and I'm so excited for this conversation today because it is going to be a lot of fun. So how are you, and welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
it's awesome
Lisa.
to be here again.
Thanks,
and thank you, Maureen. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to this.
We've been looking forward to this too, Maureen. It is such a big conversation that I'm sure both of you have thought a lot about the topic and have had your own experiences with it, and with many of the traditions that I know I have explored as well, that believe there is an aspect of us, just a portion of our soul, that is here in this physical realm. But there is also this aspect, some people call it higher self. Some people refer to it in many different ways. It's an aspect of ourselves that guides us and that we can access information from all the time. And I am curious, both Maureen and Michael, as you walk through this world, there are so many different things that we are presented with, and sometimes it can become almost like sensory overload. So to think that only 10% of us is actually here incarnated in the physical three-dimensional body, and that there's this amazing 90% that's anchored in the higher realms, it's really quite a fun thing to explore. So I'm going to turn it over to either one of you to kick things off. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this very, very broad and fun topic, the idea that we're never separate, that we are always connected.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, why don't you take it away? Because we were starting a wonderful conversation before we started recording.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, listen, the whole idea of there being, thank you, Maureen, the whole idea that we that only about 10% of us is in this human body is not by accident. The 90% can't be with us because it has so much. There's so much light, so much energy that it can't fit in our human bodies on this earthly plane. This dense level of reality, this construct that we happen to be part of. And I consider this to be like school, and the oversoul or higher self or soul self that is not incarnated with us here is helping us all along the way, because it knows all about us, because it has every life we've ever had, and it understands us because it is us, right? And so we have the ability to connect with our higher self or soul self. We have that ability and for guidance, and it's there, ready, willing, waiting. All we have to do is stop monkeying around and just sit and connect with it quietly. There are many people who teach a deeper methodology behind connecting with your soul self. I know I think Carol and the teachers talk about sitting for 7 minutes and just totally emptying your mind for a 7-minute period of time to give your soul self, your non-physical team, the opportunity to connect with you. There are deeper practices for moving forward with deeper connection. However, in my view, that your soul self is obviously you and knows everything about you, is there, ready, willing, and able. All you have to do is ask, and then remain aware of what you receive as a result with regard to people you connect with, information you connect with, what pops into your mind, what you think, oh, wait a minute, I had a thought. Boom, there you go. So I love the idea of it, and that we can all connect with it, and all we have to do is step outside of the noise of the external world and go inside and get busy, right? Connecting. So it takes a little time, a little practice, but it is definitely possible, and those who have found it to be incredibly rewarding, and to live that way is a completely different way to live. Completely. I know, Maureen, you'll agree with that fact that it is completely different in the way that you approach your day and process information and responses to events, right?
Yeah. Well, this might be newer to me than it is to the two of you. So I've always known that we have, a higher self. I never really understood the part about only a portion of us incarnate. A portion of us comes in our physical body, and that there's a larger portion of us still in spirit. And that's kind of information that I learned recently, and I love that. It makes so much sense to me. And then I've always known that my higher self is the part of me that's most connected to Source, and that had all the answers, but I always went through other people to connect to my higher self. And it wasn't until recently that I learned a technique to do it myself and to gain confidence in doing it myself. And it's just been awesome. I mean, it's just been awesome that I can really trust that that's what's happening. So I'll be glad to share all that with you, too. But I find it also fascinating and so comforting, too. It's just great to know that you always have that. You always have that higher self. You always have somebody, I'm saying somebody, but you always have, you're never alone. So
the greater part of you is always with you.
Yeah.
Never leaves.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I heard something with Daryl Anka when he was channeling Bashar, and he was saying, like you were talking about how it takes time to develop that, that knowing that you're communicating with your higher self. And definitely in my experience, it just takes practice. Well, practicing it so that it starts to flow better. Also, I think that the more feedback we give to our higher self, the more the message you're sending is, I'm listening, like you can talk to me more. And what I heard Bashar say is, you both probably heard this one before. He talks about the formula, which is like a 5-step process. And the one thing is just first acting on your passions and the things that excite you and light you up. So it's like your higher self is giving you indications of who you are and what you're about and, what your life is. And those are the things that light you up and are your passions and make you excited and all that. And when you take action on them, it's like you talking back and affirming, like, yeah, I heard you and I'm following. And then you'll get more guidance and more information from doing that. So I found that, really, I don't know, I love that teaching.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
Curious, Maureen, when you started communicating with your higher self, the process that, if you wouldn't mind sharing, the process that you went about to start doing that and how you actually validated that these, wasn't your imagination. I mean, I know Michael and I do it, and so I'd be happy to share that as well. But I'm curious what insights, and then as you sort of gained in your knowledge and trusting yourself that this is the truth, that you were able to answer those questions for yourself instead of seeking outside to somebody else for that validation.
Yeah. So I took a course. Well, so first of all, I discovered Genevieve Tager. It's Taeger. I think I discovered her on Next Level Soul. She channels benevolent beings and ascended beings, and I was just blown away by what she brought through, and she's so authentic and all this stuff. So I ended up buying her book, which is called Heal and Awaken the Goddess Within. And I started it's kind of not a workbook, but you do exercises and there's activations in the book. But then I realized she was offering a 9-week course that was coming up to take you through that. So where I learned the technique is in her 9-week course, and I'm just thinking, I think that right now she has, I just want to double check, she's one of the teachers that is on the Next Level Soul Mastery, the new thing that Alex Ferrari unveiled. She's one of the teachers, and I think her course teaches you how to do that. So I'm thinking, I probably should steer people to that.
Yeah, I think
rather than try to explain it. But what I want to tell you is I'm somebody that never could do it. And the exercises, and part of the process is having a written dialogue, because when the messages come through, for me, I don't know, everybody's different, but for me it was so choppy. So I would get one word, and then I get another word, and then I might get 3 words together, but I would just write them down. Sometimes I'd get a sentence or two, but when I'd string it all together, it was really amazing. So if I were to just get one word and I didn't write it down, I wouldn't have seen or heard the actual message that was coming through. So that was a big part of it. It was writing, and then even writing my questions out. So I got one of those pens. You know those pens that we had when we were younger that you can click down? They have 4 colors, and you click down. Okay, I buy some of those, and so I write my question in a color, and then I click it. I know. It's actually pretty fun. But it's been amazing. And then I know, this happens when, I'm sure you guys have had this happen before, when you do try to connect, whether you're connecting to your higher self or another being, and the words that come through are words that are not in your vocabulary. And so I have to look up a lot of the words, and then that just helps validate that this is not coming from me.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. You think of it, what made you think of that word? You're like, what is this word? I would never say that.
And I think I know what that word means, but let me just make sure I know what that word means.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
But,
look it up.
Yeah, but in this whole process, I had something happen a few weeks ago that really triggered me, and I just I wanted to vent, and I have my best friend lives in Florida, and you know her, Lisa Doria. And I always call her, whenever I have to vent or whatever, I always call her, and I want her to validate my feelings, or I want to know what she thinks of something. And after I've learned how to do this, even though I still call her with everything, this time I decided, okay, no, I'm going to go talk to my higher self, and I'm going to see what they think. And I did. I had a whole dialogue, and it totally helped. And it gave me a perspective that, like, my own brain wouldn't have given me.
Right.
And it was cool. And actually, what was fun, I'll tell you one thing that came through. One thing that came through was the words, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Like, wait, who's
Chicken
that,
Little.
like, nursery rhyme?
Chicken Little. Chicken Little,
Chicken Little.
The acorn.
Yeah.
The sky is falling.
So I wrote that down, and I was like, yeah, that's what this feels like. Like, this, you know, the whatever, the other person, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. But then after I closed, like, my little session and put my notebook away and stuff, I realized that it was me that they were talking about. Like, they were like, you're freaking out, girl. Like, you're freaking out. You're like, the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
Yeah, that's
great.
And it was awesome, and it totally made me laugh. So it's just like that I'm like, I can't make that up. I'm not thinking about Chicken Little.
But you know what's so interesting is you laughing about that, Maureen. First of all, your higher self, you know, not everything has to be so serious. Like, as you said, like, you get very serious. You write one word and then you write another. Next thing you know, you have a complete sentence. It's messages. Things start to come quicker. But when you have that humor, it elevates you. One of the things that we've been learning about is that when you have, say, for instance, anger is a lower expression of joy. So you want to keep bringing yourself kind of going up a ladder until you get to the point of joy. That's the highest expression. So by having that, your higher self say something to you that made you smile and laugh, you just took yourself from that lower vibrational of joy up to the higher vibration of joy, and I think that's really fantastic. That's awesome. Really, really awesome.
Well, when I was doing Genevieve's course, we were, you know, part of our thing was we were supposed to write our stuff down, and I was asking my higher self for, like, direction on something, and one of the things that came through was, that's another thing that was so funny. It was, get the car out of the garage. And I was like, what the heck? Like, who says that? But it was so funny. It was like, basically, like, yeah, get on it. Get the car out of the garage. And I'm like, I can't make this up because I don't talk like that. Yeah. But you're right, and it made me laugh, and it made me, like what you're saying, Lisa, like, it actually made me be like, oh my gosh, like, we are having a relationship. This is awesome.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Nothing can shake you out of a lower level, lower frequency mood than something that makes you laugh. And yours, you know, it's you, right? So that it knows you, it knows what you're thinking. Your soul self knows where you're going, where you are emotionally, and it's wonderful when you can develop that communication and be able to have it, your actual, you know, higher self, and give you something, just right at the right time to take you to a different place, to shift your energies. And that is the beauty of it. What I love to see is people, and it was this wonderful connection. I'm always talking about, I know on my own podcast and on this one too, that we all have the ability to do that for ourselves. You know, Carol Collins last week was here, and it was wonderful how she, and that episode will be up pretty soon, and I think it's going to be quite funny when she starts talking about how you just, you know, teachers who she channels, and we're talking about happy. You know, I love happy. I love happy. Happy, happy, happy. Happy, Happy. You can just basically start. You can shift the course of your own thoughts, because as I was telling somebody the other day, our mind cannot keep two trains of thought at the same time. You're either going to be in a lower frequency, or you're going to be in a higher frequency. And it's up to us to choose which one of those, and we have to be really understanding that we have a choice not to be in lower frequencies. We have a choice. We can learn to shift. Maybe we have a favorite song that really elevates us, lifts us up. And I swear to you, 1 minute, not even 30 seconds of listening to that song, you're not thinking about what you were upset about. You're not thinking about the frantic running around. You're like, it's in a totally different place. But we have so many different ways that we can shift our energies and focus. The wonderful thing about the higher self is, to me, that you gain this level of confidence in yourself that you otherwise, many people would not otherwise be able to generate. I mean, confidence, self-confidence is paramount to know, and what you're getting, what you received was absolute validation that you have a connection to something greater than yourself. I mean, absolute validation. I mean, and there's no feeling in the world like that. It's just you go around beaming. I'm sure you were beaming like for days at this revelation, and you just felt like you were on a completely different level. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
level of joy.
I felt like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting. Like I knew this was possible. I knew other people could do it, and I've been waiting to believe it. Like I was been waiting to know that I could do it. And then knowing that it's coming from the divine realm, you're like, okay, I'm not questioning that.
Yeah, because it's coming from a place of pure love. It's coming from a place of pure love, the kind of love that nobody in this earthly realm can even relate to. And there's no lying. There's no lying. There might be humor. There's always humor. But there's no lying. It's only truth. It's only truth. It's only authenticity. And you have somebody on this planet say something. Even Genevieve could tell you something, and you'd probably still doubt it until you actually experienced it yourself. Because one human telling another thing.
Well, that's what actually, when I discovered her, and then I can't remember. I took like a short course that she offered, and then I was DMing her on Instagram, and I asked her if she does, private sessions, and she said, I do, but I want to know why you're asking. And so basically I wanted her to connect to my higher self to give me some answers. I didn't say it that way, but I was like, well, I want to know this and that and that. And she said, I am not going to rule out doing a private session with you, but what I'd rather see you do is know that you can do this yourself. And then I ended up, and it wasn't like a sales pitch at all. It was really, that is what she is part of her, what she's doing is teaching people they can do this. So it was really, it was really like a great way to be a teacher rather than not being like a guru, but being a teacher. So it was really, that's kind of what happened.
I think that's wonderful. And I just want to share with our audience, just in case you hadn't listened to that episode previously with Maureen, she is no stranger to all sorts of higher teaching. She started literally in her living room a really amazing lecture series, and you would bring in people from all over, and it grew into this wonderful center for mind, body, and spirit. And what it was your passion, and you really inspired a lot of people, and you were so good at bringing people together in connection. And it really wasn't for you about becoming something new. It was all about remembering who you truly are. So it's such a beautiful segue to where you are now and what you're learning and what you're bringing forth, because a lot of people will hear somebody speak like as you did, well, they're on this level, but I'm really not there. And I think you can expand on this, but oftentimes it's our fear of failure that holds us back. That it's, as Sarah Landon said, it's the fear of our own power. And I think a lot of people doubt themselves. It's like getting in the car and having a blind spot. And so we can't see. And that's what's so great about having 90% of our higher selves up there, wherever there is, because they can see those blind spots that we cannot. And I have my own reasons, but I'm curious, why do you think it is that we distrust our intuition? And once we do start to trust it, as you have started to, what do you think that means as far as connecting with your inner knowing or the highest passion like Bashar speaks about? Because it really is, there's so much connection in that fear, I think, that holds us back, and we mask it up by saying it's unworthiness or self-doubt, but really understanding that you can be the master if we just allow ourselves to be guided and to tune in. So it's, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, yes. You and I were talking about this because I think there's so many levels or facets to the answers. The answer has so many different facets. So you're talking about, not trusting or not believing, or I think you said, like, well, I'm not worthy or whatever. I think part of it is until you do some practices and you don't experience something that is like, wow, oh my gosh, then you don't have the experience. So, of course, you're not going to believe it. You hear somebody say you're capable of it, but you've never tried. But then, Lisa, I was telling you about this other part that I learned, and I know that we've learned it with lots of teachers. This is just what happened recently, and I really loved the way she taught it. Was in, and I'm not trying to promote a course, but I felt a huge shift after I took this course. Mm-hmm. With Genevieve is in our, we have our cellular memory, and then we have our ancestral DNA. And so sometimes we're holding on to things from our ancestors, or it could be our own cellular memory. It could be our past lives. It could be, the ancestral DNA that is holding us back or giving us doubts or giving us fears or a sense of limitation that we're not really consciously aware of. And so even being able to address that to kind of, either unblock that or let go of that, release it, I think that's also a big part. So I would say for me, those two things that I just mentioned. The one is just doing the practices so you can experience it. Mm-hmm. And I think I've had a dozen teachers say, just trust that what's coming through, just trust it. You're not making it up, just trust it. But this was the first time that I really was like, no, I trust. And then the other part about releasing some ancestral, whether it's trauma or whatever, ancestral memory, DNA, cellular memory, I think that was big too.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. There was I believe that, there was, somebody was speaking about this, and I'm sorry, I can't tell you what I've heard several times, that a soul may incarnate in order to disrupt the path of the ancestral DNA. In other words, to break it. And maybe you mentioned the word trauma. Maybe that particular individual or that particular family line experienced some sort of trauma. I think this person used alcoholism as a form of trauma that this family had experienced that over a course of many lifetimes. And the soul came in to say no more. This is it. Not in a conscious way, but they made decisions that literally broke the chain of of incarnation, the chain of, I'm not going to call it karma, I'm just going to say the DNA, the ancestral DNA that had been continually, the path of it, that had continued for many, many generations. They literally, at that particular point, put an end to it. And that was the reason why they incarnated to begin with, is to put an end to something, into that trauma, and take them to a different place. It's kind of like being downtrodden, being in a successive number of lifetimes, many lifetimes where your whole family is downtrodden, and you're coming in to break that cycle. So you make decisions where you become successful, and then and as a result, you help bring the rest of your family, lift and elevate the rest of your family up, so that is not the pattern has been broken. No more downtrodden, thoughts and feelings and all that, and circumstances. So I really think that what you're talking about is very, 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 very amazing in a way that it shifts. And the fact that you said you tried it, you'd had several people tell you that you could do this, and it just, sometimes we're told things, and we're just not at a level in our lives where we can believe it.
Yeah, or we're not ready, or whatever.
Yeah. It's just not your time, and everybody's got a different time. That's why I tell people who listen to this radio show or listen to the podcast recording that everybody comes from a different place when they listen to this conversation, and not everybody's. It's not going to. Not every aspect of this conversation is going to resonate, but for one person, it or several people, the fact that we mention, that Carol Collins was on, and they listened to that show and they picked up on something, or in this particular case with you, it might they might be ready to go trust doing it again, trust themselves, right? And I love that about it. So appreciate you sharing your story, by the way. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
yeah. And I think so many of us, it's like we've been taught to analyze things, and it's hard to quiet that aspect of ourselves, that monkey mind that wants to just question everything. And I do always say I think there's a difference between the doubting analytical mind versus the curious mind, and allowing that state of being to be guided, because you almost have to get out of your own way and allow that awareness to just open and develop. And it sounds like those exercises you did, Maureen, were really fantastic. Were there other things within those teachings, like that you sort of incorporated in a pattern? Did you find a specific place, time of day? Was there a process to it, or did you find that once you were able to trust it, just sort of you could do it anywhere and sort of tune in to that higher self?
I think in this process you could do it anywhere. I like to go to the same room, like the room that I meditate in and do any journaling. I like to go to the same room because I feel like I've created a space up here that it maintains a certain vibrational frequency up here, so it's easier to, it doesn't have like a bunch of people coming through. There's not arguments happening in this room. I mean, there could be, but there's usually not, because it's usually just me.
The energy of a room.
I think that matters. And then, so what Genevieve taught was a process, but it is a short process, so it's easy. But and then for me, I think because I'm so, I don't know how to say it, I'm so happy that it's, possible, that I just want to, and I know from not just Genevieve, but also from lots of teachers, that to strengthen it, you have to keep doing it. It's like you can't just, do it and then let it go and expect to sit down a month later and have all this information flowing through you. So I feel so happy that I know it's real, and so I'm just what I've been doing is getting I've been getting up early and make my coffee. I come upstairs and I just start having the conversation. And, I don't know where it's going to go, but, I just go somewhere with it, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's enlightening.
But, and then I was going to say, Lisa, when you were talking and asking that question, it made me think of something that I can't remember what you said, and maybe I will think of it. But, I think it makes things easier if we, as far as, I know what it was, Michael, when you were saying about somebody coming in and breaking an ancestral pattern or something, or somebody said that a person, their purpose for incarnating. I think that for me, it's very helpful when there's chaos or, like tumultuous times or whatever, that I keep remembering that I am a spiritual being. And so I can see what's happening in the 3D world. I know what's happening, to my physical self, but the physical self is not the big picture. And and you said, Lisa, about keeping open to curiosity. So if I can get to a place where I can, really understand that I might not know why this is happening, but on a spiritual level, it's all happening the way it's supposed to. Or I don't know what the lesson is, or even if there's, say something happens, but it's actually not for you, it's to affect somebody else. There's so many possibilities, but if we can just consider that there's a lot going on that we can't see as far as the way things have to play out.
Yep, I get it. I was overseas last month, and it was so interesting. I've never had this happen before, where I go to check in on a flight and I'm not able to do so, and I get a message that said your flights have already been flown. And, I'm in Budapest and I have to get back to Pittsburgh, and I called the airline and I said, what's going on here? And it was interesting because they sent me to an emergency department. All sorts of different things unfolded in that process, even to the point when I got to the airport, even though they assured me at 6 a.m. in the morning, yes, I did have a seat, and I went to go check my luggage. They couldn't find me. And I thought, geez, this is so strange. And they had to call, after 20 minutes, they called a supervisor. Then she finally found me. So I had the first flight from Budapest to London. The second flight, I wasn't seated where I was supposed to be seated. I was seated in row 44, which was fine. It was at the back of the plane. I had an aisle seat, perfect. There was a gentleman that was standing close to the restroom, and I got up and I asked him, and he said, oh, no, he wasn't waiting. He just liked to stand. So we ended up afterwards getting into a conversation. Here he's a physicist, and I said to him, well, perhaps in some reality I have actually already flown these flights. Some aspect of me has flown those flights. So he and I exchanged information. He actually came to Pittsburgh yesterday, so I had an opportunity to enjoy a nice conversation with him. I happened to look at my phone, and it was 4:44. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I just said to him out of the blue, I said, can I ask you what's your favorite number? And he said 4. And I thought, oh, my God. That's really interesting. And although then later on, the doubting part of me, I'm driving home and I'm thinking, well, that's really funny, but it's nothing. And I look up at the gas price, and it was $4.44. And I said, wow. Okay, I understand. I just have to take my thinking mind out of this equation completely out of this equation. And I think that's a big thing because we are given these signs, and how do we recognize them? And then I think when you start to recognize them, that's what helps to strengthen the connection, because you're getting validation. But so many of us, we just dismiss it. We dismiss it that,
Yeah.
We are separate from our higher self, but we're not. And we hear these things, and I think it's become a very powerful theme in a lot of conversations that you listen to, I listen to, Michael listens to, and it's bringing us back. It's this time in humanity where we've said it for a long time. We're not separate. We're all one. And now we really have proof we are all connected, that this is this amazing space to be in. So I'd love to hear either one of your thoughts about that, because, what signs do you get? And what other types of validation do you receive that are similar? I'm just very curious.
Are you asking me or Mike?
Yeah, you.
Either one. Yeah, go.
You. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
interested.
Well, it's interesting because my father passed away 2 years ago, so I'm always kind of looking for signs from him. So the things that come through from him, they're not really messages as much as they're just little signs, like the lights flickering, or like a special number, or sometimes it'll be like a song or a thought that, something he would say. He was really funny and good one-liners, so sometimes those will come in at the perfect time. So for that, those are the things. For connecting with my higher self, well, this one funny thing has started happening even before. It started happening while I was taking Genevieve's course, and it started happening before I felt confident that I was connecting. It was like the beginning. I was just I'd be kind of having, I have a conversation in your head, and you're like, wow, what do I think of this? Or should I do that? Or I don't know, this person, this. And it was almost like I would get this quick, statement that would just come out of my mouth. And I was like, what was that? It was just weird. But I think that was a sign. It was a sign that I was connecting. I wasn't listening to my own intuition. So somehow it was okay, it's just going to come out of your mouth now. A really blunt, answer. So I think that, but I think, no, I think you can look at, it depends, at how, the way you interpret life and the way that you kind of take everything as, magical, so, I'm not really, I'm not articulating it very well, but if you okay, so I think, did we talk about this the last time I was on, about the whole thing where less than 1%, we can only see less than 1% of reality? Did we talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, I don't remember. Please share it, because it's as important then. If it's showing up, Maureen, there's a reason it's coming through. Absolutely.
Well, okay. So it's with the electromagnetic scale. When you look at it in all of the different energies and waves and rays that exist, there's a tiny sliver that makes up for less than 1% of that spectrum. It's the electromagnetic spectrum that is visible light. And so that's the part that we can see with our human eyes. And when I saw that, I saw that graphically on a screen, I was like, oh my gosh, we think that reality is everything we see. We think reality is just what we see, but we can only see less than 1% of what really is here. So if, 99.99999, I think it's 12 nines, is invisible to us, then I think there's a lot of stuff going on that we can't see. So when you asked about signs, I just think, like, it's kind of the way you look at life. Like, there's so much possibility of what could be speaking to you, you know? Like, there's so many things you can open your eyes to. I don't know. I'm not articulating it well, but am I making
you
any sense?
You are articulating it fantastically. Absolutely.
The idea that we can only see 1%, because we can only see 1%, we think it's everything, and literally it's not. And when I think it was Darius Wright who teaches people how to do intentional near-death experiences, and basically he doesn't call it that so much as leaving your body. He's out of Australia. He talks about the fact that when you do it the first time, he teaches other people to do it. One of the things that's so fascinating is that they realize immediately once they're out of their bodies that they can see the 100% of the spectrum, and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute! All this exists!" And it's this constant building of understanding your belief system. It's a constant building of your belief system, right? That you kind of broaden your horizons, and in broadening your horizons, you broaden your belief systems. You move out of the known into the unknown, and once you become familiar with the unknown, and it's no longer unknown, obviously, and that broadens your horizons. There isn't anything that out there in my view that's random. I was telling Donna Bell, who I was connecting with, who's been on the show before. She works with crystals and stones, and she's really fabulous in terms of connecting with the non-physical realm, and through her wonderful stones and crystals. And she said, and I told her, I said, look, I've seen 777s at least 8 to 10 times in the last 5 days, right? I'm just all I'm seeing. And I looked up the meaning, and I said, because we were having a conversation about where I'm going and what I'm doing and how I'm preparing and things of that nature. And I said, okay, that makes sense now. It makes sense now, because this is the time to, what that 777 was telling me is it's time to step out of your comfort zone and take some risk to achieve your lifelong mission here. And that is, it resonated so much with me, and also gave me, literally this is happening. Nothing is an accident. Nothing is a coincidence. And and I love what you said earlier, everything is magical. These are perceptions that when we adopt them as our everyday reality, as our thinking, as our perceptual thinking of when we engage with life after we wake up and before we go to bed, that we get a different experience of life. We are looking for different things. We're aware of certain things. We are, when things happen, we see meaning in them instead of a lack of meaning. And that meaning is guidance. We are actually receiving lots and lots and lots of guidance. I was with somebody a couple weeks ago who we were talking about the whole numbers thing, right? And I said, let me help you understand something. And we were going to the hospital to see a friend, and she was talking about, I saw 111 before I reached you, 1111, and I said, yeah, I know. I said, do you ever take a look at and see what the meaning of that is? You go online or whatever? And she said, no. And I said, let me help you understand one other thing. And I said, see that license plate of the car in front of us? Yeah. I said, put it in your phone. And she puts it in her phone, and this meaning comes up for that number that happens to be very specific to her. And I said, see? I said, I was told that for me that I'm getting many more communications than I'm actually paying attention to. The non-physical realm is looking to give you a guidance and understanding at every turn. And the word that I know was mentioned just a little bit earlier in this conversation, not too far ago, was allowing. Right, Lisa? Allowing. We have to be willing to allow that communication to occur, and it's all about that. And I was taught doing meditation, and when you're going to seeking to communicate with your team, that you want to literally say, I allow this to happen. Because literally the non-physical realm cannot connect with you really one-on-one directly without you saying, hey, yeah, I want your help.
Right.
Which is why I tell people all the time, ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, it's there for you. Just say, okay, right, the team is ready to rock. And it's just like it's like they're all standing at the starting line, you know, itching to get in the game and in the race, and you're like, you won't say, I allow you to come help me, please. You know, I'm looking for your guidance. Because then all of a sudden they just rush in, and you get all these messages. Then you get overwhelmed with, but you have to have develop a sense of awareness and understanding. And what you've gone through is some training that is helping you to expand your awareness, expand your understanding, expand your belief system, and become more comfortable with the unknown, which is now no longer the unknown. And then there'll always be the unknown. However, I'm hearing and sensing a lot of energetic joy and fun and excitement and passion about what you're doing. And that falls right into line with getting more of that in your life, getting more of that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do various things.
I agree.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You get more of it.
Yeah,
you get more of it.
Michael, you had sent me a video not too long ago with an astrologer, and this hasn't happened in 6,000 years. Was, I think, part of the title. And one of the things that he mentioned in there, which was really fantastic, and I think it's a really good way to anchor it in, was back in the day. I don't even know what year it was. There, if you bought a box of crayons, there was the 4 primary colors: yellow, red, green, and blue. I think blue, right? Blue. And maybe black, and maybe white. 6 colors. And now if you buy the biggest box of Crayola crayons, there's 152. You know, you get the regular crayons, you get the metallic crayons, you get the glitter crayons. That's you've got this whole expanded
neon
thing.
Crayons.
But if you were back there in that time period, you would not have had that experience. And so I have a kind of a big question for both of you. So if every listener remembered one thing from today's conversation, what would you want them to know about themselves?
Go ahead, Maureen. Okay, I got something in mind.
I mean, I guess what I want them to know is they can connect to their higher selves.
Yeah. For me,
and maybe they're the glitter crayon in that box, right?
Yeah. So true. They're the glitter crayon in that box. Yeah. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, it's you know, we are on this journey. And what I want people to understand is that it's important to maintain an awareness that there is more, number one, and embrace the perception that every day offers you the opportunity to do a variety of different things. We shut ourselves down through fear, lack of understanding. We shut ourselves down because we don't believe it's possible. You know, and these beliefs and perceptions are literally preventing us from experiencing a more full life and connection with our non-physical team, because we get indoctrinated that they don't exist, that, you know, you're crazy, you know, you don't bring this up. I mean, there's so many different thought viruses that are associated with connecting with the non-physical side of you. But you are there, and it's like they want you to be there. So I want people to know there is a non-physical side to you, higher self. You can connect with it, as Maureen has evidenced. And time to give it a go, because how's life working for you right now? You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the fact that you chose the word journey, because we have a previous episode talked about the idea of not becoming more but unbecoming, and I think that that's part of the journey. And Maureen, I'm so grateful that you joined us, because I think oftentimes we look at somebody and it seems like it's way out there and it's not accessible to us, but it is. It's right here. And perhaps it's about remembering that you're loved, that you are guided, that you are not alone, that you're worthy, that there is this greater part of you that has never forgotten how amazing you are, how unique you are, how incredibly wonderful. And that connection that you've been searching for is with you all along. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Maureen, but I'm curious, like when it was sort of that, was it an epiphany? Like it filled your heart with joy, you were happy when you realized that you weren't not alone and you could connect to all of these beautiful aspects beyond that 1% of the spectrum that you see.
Yeah, it was more like a little bit of like a coming home feeling. Like it was
nice.
more like, oh, okay. Like I don't know. It was more like a home feeling.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of, because of other things that I learned, and there was a lot of, I think I did tell you this part, Lisa, that, well, I think I mentioned it earlier too, the two big shifts that happened were trusting that I can do that, and then also releasing some unworthiness. And so in all of that, there just was a lot of self-acceptance that happened that wasn't there before.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. That is gorgeous.
So that part, I mean, that part is like there's nothing like that, you know?
No, you are worthy and you have all the powers. You have infinite abilities. We shut down our belief system, and those abilities are shut down with it. You know, it's we are infinitely powerful beings. Something that one of my non-physical guides by the name of Moses told me yesterday, that I should say two things throughout the day. I remember who I am, and I know who I am. And,
wow.
Yeah, those two things. You wanted me to say those two things all the time, because what that does, if you say throughout the day, you wake up in the morning, I know who I am, I remember who I am, and when you think about it during the day, you say the same thing. Sitting in a car at a stoplight, I know who I am, I remember who I am. What you're doing literally is you're opening up the channel of communication to who you are, to your higher self, and you're reconnecting. Lisa and I always talk about remembering, reconnecting, and allowing those three things, but we are here to remember who we are as beings, because we have been forced into an amnesia. We are extremely powerful. We can create energies, frequencies. We can create whatever we want. We are creating all throughout every moment of our life. Our perceptions and beliefs are creating our experience of this life. And so remembering that you come from something greater, that you have greater powers, that you have powers of communication, that you maybe not up to this point realized that you had, is really, really important. And I love those two lines. I'm so ever grateful for them, because they're going to help me continue to remember and gain more knowledge of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah,
I agree.
I like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
when
I
think about, I was going to say, both Maureen and Michael, this has been such a beautifully expansive conversation. And Maureen, thank you so much for joining us, because you reminded us that we are never walking alone, we're never unguided, and we're never, ever small. I mean, we are these beautiful, glorious beings. Even if we're only here on this plane for a short time, we have so much more that we can offer and we can give. And that's really what we try to create, this space for remembering who you are and reconnecting with your heart, and always choosing the love, one thought, one moment, and one connection at a time. So I'm so grateful to both of you. It has been just the most glorious conversation. And I do hope you'll come back and continue it.
Oh, I'd love to. Anytime. Yeah, it's so nice to talk with you guys.
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Yeah. And until next time, stay connected, stay in love, and, of course, peace out. Thank you.
Bye-bye.